Hey everybody, Mike here. There's Jack, he's my co-host. I'm going to do another video here showing some new vinyl that I picked up. I got some that I got online, and those are some little better quality. We'll do those at the end, and then I went digging in the dollar bins and came back with quite a bit of stuff. I always like to dig through the dollar bins. $10 for 10 records. You know, you can't beat that if they're in good shape and they sound good. They're not all hard rock, they're not all metal. I got a lot of non-rock, but I'm going to show everything to you. And we'll just get started here with this. We'll go through the $10 stack. I don't know if you can hear it in the background, it's not up too loud. But I've seen this a couple times before, different places. It's kind of a blind buy. That's a band called Stillwater. That's the front. It's kind of a rock and roll looking cover. A guy running, streaking down the middle of a busy city street. Kind of looks like something you might find on one of today's modern rock album covers. But there's the band. 1976. It's Capricorn Records. It's Southern rock. This track, I Reserve the Right, it's the title track off this album. It's a really good Southern rock tune that borrows a lot from some early Molly Hatchet. Of course, this band is back from the Atlanta, Georgia area, southern rock hotbed. They specifically mentioned the Charlie Daniels Band in the liner notes, and if you listen to the CDB, then you know a lot of their stuff wasn't straight country and country rock. They played a lot of jazz influence kind of stuff, kind of even like tropical jazz kind of influenced tunes, and you know. With the 70s the way it was, the pop sensibility of the 70s kind of had that element on a lot of the rock tunes too, so there's that kind of that breezy vibe to some of these tunes. But all in all, I like it. I'd never heard of them before, and you know, hey, you can't go wrong with Southern rock, so I called a win. That's Stillwater with I Reserve the Right. And then this is another one. I'd never heard of these guys. This was kind of a blind buy too. This is the amazing Rhythm Aces. They're kind of a soft country rock, kind of bluesy kind of vibe. Again, out of the 70s. They got kind of that kind of outlaw look on the back, and it's kind of an interesting front cover. I've only given this a little bit of a listen. It's got some really good songs. I enjoy it. It's got a little southern flavor to it. Both these bands kind of maybe had a little bit of an Atlanta rhythm section kind of vibe going on, more the lighter end of the southern rock instead of the harder side like Molly Hatchet or Blackfoot or things like that. Well worth $1. And then some totally non-rock, non-metal. I always like to add to my jazz collection, and I don't have anything by this guy, Herb Alpert, legendary trumpet player. So again, a blind buy. I'm not real familiar with a lot of his catalog. He's got so many different things and date way back with the Tijuana Brass. But this record is in pristine condition. Came out in 1980, so you know, as light jazz was kind of progressing from the 70s into the 80s, had more kind of a less of that 70s popish feel to it, and more of a kind of a modern sound, kind of like rock. You know, rock was transitioning into. So haven't listened to it yet. I think I'm gonna like it. Another jazz album. This is George Benson, legendary jazz guitar player. This one is from 1976. This is Breezin'. Again, just picked it up because it's George Benson and it was $1. Haven't listened to any of it yet. But there are moods and times where you like non-rock, non-metal. That'll be from one of them. And then here's another one. I showed in my last dollar dig, I showed a pristine copy of Bobby Sue by the Oak Ridge Boys, and this one is the album that came out before that, Fancy Free. It's got their song Elvira on it. Come on, if you grew up in the 80s, if you were a kid in the 80s, you knew Elvira. You sang that bass line. Everybody knew it. So again, this one's in pristine shape too, almost. The cover's got a little more wear than the Bobby Sue album, but again, for $1. I've got the two best-selling Oak Ridge Boys albums in my collection now. Can't really go wrong. And you know, hey, I like this guy too. I like Neil Diamond. I like pretty much all of his stuff. I think Hot August Night is one of the greatest live albums ever recorded. If you like rock, any kind of good music, and if you've never heard Hot August Night, you got to go check that out. but this is On the Way to the Sky. Again, 1980, 81. So had kind of phasing out those kind of 70s influences. And yeah, hey, again, for $1, Neil Diamond. And then some classic rock. This is Gary Wright with Light of Smiles. You know, I'm not a huge Gary Wright fan. Most people know him for The Dreamweaver. That's not on this album. But you know, good rock and roll is good rock and roll. So, and then the record's in good shape for $1. Picked it up. And then here's this is kind of local. I don't know, people outside the Indianapolis area or Indiana, you know, might not be too keen on this, but this was a really good find here locally for $1. This is the Q95 and Karma Records Indiana album project #2. And if you've ever listened to the Bob and Tom show, they're syndicated all over the United States. They're originated right here from out of Indianapolis. And back when they were actually a radio program, this was in 1980. They did a series of albums where they featured local artists and put them all together on a compilation album, and this is kind of the result of that. None of these bands are really around anymore. If you're not from around this area, you've probably not heard of many of them. Franklin's Kite is the one on here that's kind of ringing some kind of a bell. But again, I'm not too familiar with the bands that were on here, but I like to collect stuff from the Indianapolis area. And I got another one I'm going to show you here in a minute that's a classic Indianapolis-based band. But this was a really good find. The record's in great shape, so for $1 I was really happy. All right, these next two I thought were really awesome to find for $1. The first one is, most classic rock fans will recognize that album cover right away. It's one of the coolest album covers ever. In fact, this is the most death metal looking album cover that is completely not death metal ever. And this is the Moody Blues with In Search of the Lost Chord. I don't know a lot of history about the pressing of this album, but this seems to be a 1968 pressing on the Decca label, and the record's in really great shape. The jacket is really not in bad shape either. I'm shocked that this was only $1. So kind of, you know, one of those that when you find you really can't pass it up. So, and I've always liked the Moody Blues. And of course, this has Ride My Seesaw on it. I've always liked that song. So I thought that was a great find for $1. And then here's the other one I think some of the hard rockers out there might be interested in. I had never really heard of this, and I'd seen this once before, and I wanted to do a little bit of research on it. It's on the Jim record label, which I think Rail's debut album came out on Jim Records. But anyway, this is a band called the Cherry Bombs, B-O-M-B-Z. And basically what I found out was this is the project that Andy McCoy started after he left, after Hanoi Rocks broke up in I think 85. I think this came out in 86. This is an EP, and it's got 4 songs on it, and it's got a cover version of Loverboy's Hot Girls in Love, which is really a really smoking version. I really like it. But this is just, if you like Hanoi Rocks, kind of 80s glam, sleaze rock, this is right up your alley. It's got a female singer. Anita is the only name. I researched the website, find out what her last name was. But I thought this is, I don't know how rare this is, but you know, this is probably one that I think most of the hard rockers out there would probably enjoy and get their hands on if they don't have it. And again, for $1, total steal. The only drawback with it was it doesn't have any liner notes or an inner sleeve. It's just got the record. So you know, a lot of the albums that came out then were like that. There might not have even been a sleeve with any information about the band on it. So I'll just get a better sleeve for the record and replace it, and be very happy with that purchase. All right, so I just got back from the record store and picked up. I'm going to show you 3 I just picked up. They're hard rock, AOR kind of stuff, guilty pleasures. The first one is this one, Rick Springfield. Success Hasn't Spoiled Me Yet. I really like this record. I had never owned it. I personally think that's a great album cover. I liked the album covers with the dog, Working Class Dog, and then the sequel here. You know, again, the pink, the purple, the gray, and the black. I mean, these were colors that a lot of bands and artists weren't using on their album covers, and I think this is a great album cover, and it works for me. And it's got some really good songs on it. The song Christina is a great hard rock song, and I liked Don't Talk to Strangers. I thought Rick Springfield had a great pop sensibility, and had intermittent inside, between the tunes. He had some really muscular guitar licks, and some of his later stuff is a lot more rocking. But I'm not afraid to admit, I like to listen to it. I thought it was a great steal for just a couple of bucks. And then more AOR. This is Survivor's debut album. I didn't really know it immediately until I looked into it, but if the cover model looks familiar, she should, because it's Kim Basinger. And their debut came out in '79, and it's Survivor. And this has got some really good songs on it, good blueprint for what the band would become. I think a little more traditional hard rocking on their first couple of albums before they got a little more pop oriented. Again, the only funny thing about this album is the inner sleeve is for the Vital Signs album. So I don't know if this album ever had an inner sleeve that was relative to the record, if it had lyrics, liner notes, or anything like that. Not a big deal to me really, because I have it for the music, and the record's in great shape, so I'll replace that sleeve and just be happy about that. And then here's the last one I picked up today. This is I talked about the Indianapolis-based bands. This is the Faith Band. Carl Story is a kind of a legendary figure around the Indianapolis area. This was his band, they had their biggest hit was on an album that came out after this. Rock and Romance was the album. And Dancing Shoes was their big hit, which kind of got a lot of airplay, and you still hear that every once in a while today. But it's a good Midwestern rock band. There's the couple of tunes on here. Brave World, I think it is, and I Think I Want to Possess You. There's some really good hard rocking tunes on this album, and then some more classic '70s breezy kind of sounding things. But great record, glad to have it. And then here's to summarize here. I want to thank Rui, hope I pronounced his name right. A while back in one of his videos, he was listening to an album from a band I had, quite frankly, never heard of, and I really dug it. And I thought, man, I want to find it somewhere. And that was Hydra. Hydra's self-titled debut on the Capricorn label. Capricorn's the same label that the Stillwater was on, so a lot of southern rock bands on it. But now you want to talk about like pre-Molly Hatchet, before there was Molly Hatchet. I'm tremendously influenced by these guys. This is a great record. Really happy to find this. Not had any luck digging for it anywhere, so I went online and got it, and I got this in a four record lot that came with some other really good '70s hard rock and with kind of a southern flavor. This is a Hustler with High Street. I don't really call these guys really southern rock. This is just your typical '70s hard rock. They had a couple of albums that came out. You can find them online if you've never heard of them. I mean, good '70s hard rock. So I thought that was a great addition to this lot. Along with this one here, this is a band called Jukin' Bone with Way Down East, 1972. Again, kind of southern flavored hard rock. Not much more to say about it than just good hard rock and stuff. And then this is the final one in that lot, Diamond Rio. I don't know if it's Diamond Rio or Diamond REO. Anyways, I think these guys were out of Detroit, if I remember right. I don't promise that that's correct, but anyway, man, this is great hard rock. This is really good stuff, and it kind of reminds me of Dirty Diamonds is the name of the album. Kind of reminds me, it's got kind of a grimy, greasy Ted Nugent kind of feel to it. It's not your typical Midwestern kind of stuff that was coming out of the '70s back then. It's got a harder edge to it, and really good hard rock. So a great addition to that 4-lot set. I was really happy with being able to get those and get that Hydra. It's another one off my list. So quite a bit of vinyl. you know, some I think pretty exciting. Others just kind of, you know, you can't have too many records, and I like digging in the dollar bins. So hopefully maybe there's a couple in here that I've turned you on to that you're not aware of, and you know, happy hunting when you go out and look for your own. No, some metal in here, some hard rock, not a whole lot, but you know, I'm a metal guy. Just posted some videos about going to checking out Entombed here at our local one of our local venues. So I'm not ashamed of any of the stuff I listen to, and I'm not ashamed that I'm metal, and you shouldn't be either. Let them know you're metal. Bang your head, throw the goat, and I'll catch you next time.